into the basements because of the composition of it. Well, in 2018, we got record rains. People who had never had water in their basement before had water in their basement. People who had never had radon also had radon. Why? Because the soil composition changed. So the radon gas was able to be able to come out. Also, if there's dynamiting, that can change soil composition. If there's renovations, that can change the way the house breathes. So it's important to test every 2 years, because without that test, you have no idea if you have radon coming into your home or building. If the house is not going on the market, you don't need a way to prove what your radon levels are. You can go to Lowe's and buy a kit for 25. Well, it used to be 25 bucks. I don't know what it'd be now. $25, and at least assure yourself that you're not being exposed to radon.
She clicked on it somewhere.
Oh, is she around?
Definitely.
Oh, good. Oh, and this just goes over how the house breathes. So if there is soil gases coming into the property, it's easy for that polluted air to be circulated around. There was a day when we didn't have to worry about soil gases or indoor air pollution very much, because our houses were not built very tight. And then during the energy crisis, which I also got to live through, everybody wanted their houses built very, very tight, which is great for energy efficiency, but it's not great if you don't control the indoor air pollution or your indoor air, because then you're trapped with the contaminants. So let me hit a few things about indoor environments. All of these are pollutants that we can be confronted with. When we look at propane fireplaces, some of our stoves are fueled with propane. All those can set off pollutants into our air. Do we get rid of our propane fireplaces? You are not taking my propane fireplace. I love that thing, but is the air being circulated enough with fresh air so that you don't have too much of the pollution in the air? So again, and all of this, in my mind, we should never be scared. We should just respect what's going on in our buildings and address it. A lot of it for my husband and I is just happened, that we have a dog, awesome dog, beautiful dog, sheds like crazy. Guess what I'm allergic to when it gets heavy? So what did I do? I had him buy me one of those robot Hazel. He calls her Hazel to keep the house with the dog dander up. Our chemicals and our building components all give off VOCs, volatile organic compounds. Again, a lot of this has to do with personal susceptibility. So what Karen may be allergic to, or Kristen may be allergic to, I might not be, or vice versa. Also, the way that we store those chemicals because the containers release vapors, when those vapors mix, they can also mix into an air pollution. So making sure that we store our chemicals properly. These all lead to asthma. Indoor air pollution can lead to asthma. And looking at the soil, when we talk about the soil pollution, the soil can also contaminate our water. So especially people with wells should be testing their water again every 2 years. It's the recommendation by the EPA.
We do water testing.
We do, but I have other sources that really do a good job too. That's the other thing with our Breathe Healthy initiative. I'll be giving you my cell phone number today. Anytime you have a question, that's the idea behind the Breathe Healthy initiative. 15 and 30-minute consultations at no cost, all virtually. That helps keep down our costs, but you can use me as a resource. I do not have all the answers, but boy, do I have ways of getting the answers. Let me talk about wet basements for a minute. Wet basements highly contaminate our entire house. 50% of our air comes from our basements and crawl spaces. So controlling what's going on with dampness, very important. So some water issues, warning signs that, hey, you've got a problem. If there's standing water, so understand water should not be in our buildings. My mother, it's just a basement, so that's what basements do. It's like She's 83. I can't argue with her anymore. But cracked walls, high humidity events. So mold does not need water to grow. All it needs is humidity. I have these beautiful trees in my house, and when they're the only plant that's lived in my house because I'm not good with plants. I don't remember to water them. But these trees, they're 27 years old now. They tell me when they need watered by getting all crinkly. I give them a gallon of water each, and they're alive again and happy. Mold's the same way. When it has no humidity, it will become dormant, and it'll just sit there and do nothing until a humidity event, and then it'll come to life. That's how we see some of these new homes that are being built. 5 years into it, they find out there's mold between the walls. It's because the people did not control the indoor air and humidity. So it had a humidity event, the mold spores rooted. It got dry, it just sat there dormant. They got a little bit more humidity, they grew a little bit more. And just like those trees, they come to life for a while, then they become dormant, and next thing you know, you've got mold all through the walls. Let me tell you, efflorescence too is a biggie. A lot of my mom says, "Oh, that's just efflorescence is just left over from moisture. It's what was in the moisture, the chemicals that were left over. However, that's an indicator that you have a humidity or water problem. It may not be evident because it's dry, but again, when it rains, our concrete blocks are like sponges, and they just soak that up. So when there is a water or high humidity, it's recommended that you do a full house assessment. So if you've saved a couple people from spending $25,000 for a water control system in their basement, when really what they needed was to fix their gutters or to change the way their driveway was leaning. It was leaning towards the house. So doing a full assessment, very important. Identify what the source is, and then dealing with what the source. So if the source is outside water, then dealing with it on the outside. If it's inside, it could be plumbing. Dealing with the plumbing. The virtual meeting I did this morning with somebody out of Hedgesville was a roof leak. The roof leaked. It ran all the way down 2 stories and into the basement. They found the water in the basement, but it was really a roof problem. So it's looking for where the source of the problem is and addressing that source. And then there's all kinds of different ways you can control it once you get, if it's inside the property, and all kinds of ways outside. If you need, whenever we're assessing a problem, what we like to do is take into account the cost, their budget, and what the issues are, and then quite often addressing it process of elimination. We think it's the gutters, let's fix that. Let's wait till the next rain and see if that fixed it. And continue to go through the process of elimination so that you really get the source of the problem. If it's back of my head would be good. Thank you. I kind of hit a lot of mold whenever I was going through wet basements. Most of us know mold's a fungus. The thing that's dangerous about mold is not the mold itself. The mold itself is used in our prescription drugs. Penicillin is a great example. It's the spores that are dangerous. The spores carry a mycotoxin. My husband is a great example. 27 years ago when I met him, he could be in mold and show no reaction. Now his eyes water, his throat itches. Our body's immune system can no longer has the resistance against it. They come in all different shapes and colors. When one of your clients calls you and says, "Oh my goodness, I found black mold, toxic black mold," understand mold comes in all different types of colors. If it is black, that has to do with how old is the mold, how wet did the mold get, and how much oxygen did it get. I had a client in Waynesboro when I was in the field said, "There is something going on in my attic. I went to bring down my Christmas decorations, and oh my goodness, it's a mess up there." It was beautiful on everything, including the ceiling. It was orange, pink, blue, yellow, and it was about this thick. And because it was a metal roof and heated on the inside, it had icicles on the end of it. It looked like an upside down horse. So good, like crazy. So never, the only way you can know for sure what type of mold it is to test. If you see mold, you do not have to waste money on testing. You know you have mold, so now it's all, save the money for after remediation to test and make sure that it's gone. But you don't need to waste money unless the doctor wants to know what kind of mold it is so that he knows how to treat the patients. So these are the most famous molds in this area. All of those, these two are toxic. This is the one they use in penicillium. This one is not as toxic. It's kind of more like a pollen. And Stachybotrys is the famous black mold, the one that if you find in somebody's building, you really want to be concerned about their health. These are the reactions that people typically have to mold. EPA has found links now to lung cancer from people who have had excessive exposures to mold. We can get affected by mold by either inhaling it, eating it, or having it on our skin. Now, why would somebody eat mold?
And you don't have to, you just have to cut that little bit off the bread.
She said toast it first. You think about it, small spores are like 2 microns, so they're very, 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 very small. They can't see them by the naked eye. And if somebody has mold in their house or their kitchen, those spores are dropping on the counters, on our plates, on our food. That's one way that you can eat it. Children, they put everything in their mouth, everything, including their hands. So they're on the floor. That's how they get lead poisoning. The number one way they get lead poisoning is by eating it. They're not eating the windowsills, although I have seen teeth marks in it. They are not eating the lead. They are getting it on their hands and on their toys and then putting those things in their mouth and swallowing it. Why the number one way to control air pollution is great housekeeping practices, which it's a whole nother story. So hoarders, there's always, with somebody that has a lot of hoarding that's been sitting there for years, there is a 60% chance that if you took mold tests, air samples in the home, they would fail. Because the spores, again, they're laying there, they're sitting there for years. If there's any humidity, they're going to start rooting in there. But even more so is that the accumulation of dust, chances are some of that dust has spores in it. People at risk. So for mold to grow, you only need 4 things. You need a spore. You need something for it to attach to, which carpeting, ceiling tile, drywall, all great ways to attach. They need nutrients, which is everyday household dirt. That mold spore will remain dormant until you add the final ingredient. I've said it several times already. Humidity, moisture. It has to have that. Who said that? Like kudos. Moisture. So those are really the 4. Does mold grow better in higher temperatures? Absolutely. But we know that it can grow in lower temperatures, or we would never have it in our refrigerator. You know, does mold need darkness? Yeah, but if you remember in 2018 when we got all the rain, I had people calling and saying I have mold on my mulch. The sun was coming out, so you don't need total darkness for mold either. It's just that they grow better in those environments. They're inspired in those environments. Warning signs: water damage, dust and dirt, like I was saying with hoarding, visible mold growth, you can actually see it. Do you need to panic over the dots in your ceiling of your shower or growing on the caulk in your shower? You do not. Just get some Lysol, clean it. Lysol, Dawn dish liquid, water, just clean it. It's when it is starting to have elevated spore levels in your property or in your room that it becomes dangerous. High humidity spots, all of these are indicators. Odors, number one thing people ignore is odors. So when I found the wet spots in my mom's basement, I went looking because of the odors. But in her mind, that's the way a basement's supposed to smell. Mold inspections. So like I said, if you see it, you really don't need the inspection. What we do recommend is that you always do an inspection and or testing for the air after a mold remediation project. The reason why is because for mold to contaminate an environment, especially Stachybotrys, all you need is a colony the size of the tip of my finger. So if they missed that one spot, then you still have a problem. One of my guys does such a fabulous job. We were doing mold remediation in a dorm. I don't want to say what college, a local college, and he cleaned that thing 5 times since Jocelyne. It's failed every time. What I can't figure it out. And sometimes just a second set of eyes helps. And I walked in, it had a baseboard radiator, and I stuck my hand under there and pulled out dirt. He said, don't say anything else, just leave. He pulled that radiator, cleaned it, it passed. It just takes a little bit to cause the environment to continue to be contaminated. The number one thing to get rid of mold, if you do mold remediation and do not deal with the moisture issue, then it will come back. And I've seen it come back as quick as 24 hours. So keep that in the back of your mind. It's not, the mold is just a symptom of a deeper problem. That deeper problem is a moisture issue.
We can't guarantee.
No, and anybody that tells you they're guaranteeing that the mold remediation mold will not come back, you need to read that guarantee, because there will be 5 pages of exclusions. The number one being if you don't get rid of the source of the problem. The only time you know for sure that mold is gone is the day the sample is taken. After that, if moisture hits that area again, because mold spores are everywhere all the time, it's going to come back again. So getting rid of the source of the problem, very crucial. Lead, lead was like a miracle thing that we came into. It's been with us our whole history. The Egyptians lined their wine goblets with it. I think that's why there were so many ancient Egyptians and Romans that were crazy, the kings and queens. They talk about, they all died in like 35, you know. They really used lead and asbestos and everything. So we used it mostly in paint. We had good reason for using it. I mean, if you think back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, you never saw a painted barn. Then all of a sudden, they all turned out, everybody wanted to paint them. It's because lead made the paint last longer. It could hold up to the weather. It was awesome product. We started talking about white picket fences, you know. The dangers are significant. So especially to children, and this is why with children's bodies are developing. And when their bones are trying to grow, it sucks up all the calcium it possibly can. Well, the body identifies lead as calcium and sucks it into their bones, into the blood system. Once it gets to their brain, it can cause lifetime disabilities. I had a gentleman in Greencastle. He says, I'm 70 years old. I just came back from the doctors, and he says my lead levels are really high. I cannot figure out why. So I got all my equipment, and this was when I was still in the field. I went out to his house, and I didn't even have to open the door. I could hear him sawing. They were doing renovations. He was wearing no PPE, and everything in his house but one wall tested positive for lead. So everything he was pulling was creating all that dust. It was falling in the kitchen on the plates and stuff, and so they were eating. I'm sure that, you know, he was inhaling it as well. He knows more about lead now than me. After me, he did all this research. So where can we find lead? Mostly in deteriorated house paint. It is not allowed to be put into paint any longer. Except for the paint they use on bridges. So you don't want to hang out under bridges. And the reason is because you don't have to paint them but once every 10-15 years. 35% of all housing still has lead-based paint in it. Paint inspections are the best way to determine whether or not you have lead. Now, understand, as long as the paint is intact, you have no issue. It's when it starts to deteriorate that you have an issue. Friction areas. So if it's lead paint, in the windows or the doors, every time you open and shut them, dust that you cannot see is coming off of them. So with houses where they've determined that they don't want to do, they want to make it lead safe, not lead free. It's making sure that you have good cleaning habits and that you keep the paint intact. Very, very crucial in older buildings, because a lot of the structural components are painted with lead-based paint, and you can't remove the structural components. So keeping it intact is important. We recommend the XRF. You shoot that into the wall, and within 30 seconds, you know whether or not you have lead-based paint. Radon, you all are probably very knowledgeable about radon, right? So I will skip some of this. I think I hit a lot of it. I get so far ahead of myself all the time. Asbestos, people are really feeling like there's no reason to be worried about asbestos. I read an article 2 years ago that if every single asbestos abatement company stayed in business and continued to operate at the speed that they were operating at, it would take 369 more years to get rid of all the asbestos. It is still in buildings a lot, and China's still putting it in their drywall mud. So just because the house was built after 1980 doesn't mean it doesn't have asbestos in it. It's recommended that asbestos inspections be done prior to renovations and demolition. It's a naturally occurring mineral, and like I said, like with lead, it was amazing. It made things last so long, so we put it in everything that we could. It's fire resistant. It's an insulator. It doesn't conduct electricity. It's chemical resistant. I have pictures. Actually, at my office, I have a fire suit. They used to actually make the fire suits out of 100% asbestos. They don't do that anymore for obvious reasons. It's the fibers that are dangerous. So as long as just like lead paint, as long as the asbestos is intact, it is not something to worry about. Also, you will have some companies tell you you have to remove it, and understand that it's not always cost effective to remove it. There are other ways to handle, like if the floor is not falling apart and it's asbestos, sometimes covering it with another layer of floor is more economical and just as safe as removing it. So it's also looking at all of your options. Health effects, it's dangerous. It is the most miserable disease a person can have. Asbestosis, mesothelioma, and lung cancer. The way that it happens is that fiber gets into your lungs. Your body builds a crust around it to try to push it out of your lungs, and it won't come out. So then it becomes cancerous. That crust becomes cancerous. Again, not something to fear, something to respect. All these products have asbestos in them. I'm going to hit two more things, Christine, if it's okay. HVAC duct cleaning. Again, I don't want people to be misled. You do not have to have your ducts cleaned regularly. Duct cleaning should be done when the ducts are full of debris or contaminated. They get contaminated by mold if they get wet, or they get contaminated by the animals that decide to climb in there and have babies and have a little community affair going on. So this is considered, although I don't think this looks clean, it's not shiny, this is considered clean. To clean this, you will actually stir up more dust and contaminate the air in your building. So I have brochures on all of this. If you ever have any questions, I can send you brochures that are written by the EPA that you can give to your clients. And then carpeting. So the big thing, like this carpeting, do you do it? There's not a problem. Indoor Air Quality Association does not recommend carpeting. The Carpet Association of America says as long as you keep it clean. So you just need to ask yourself a lot of questions. So when we built our house, I wanted no carpeting anywhere but in the bedroom. Remember, I was raised in a mobile home. In Canada, very cold floors in a mobile home. So I didn't want to get up in the morning and put my feet on a cold floor. Then we got Lucy, who sheds on everything and spends most of her time in the bedroom. I wish I had never got carpeting in the bedroom. So it's kind of looking at that reasoning. I believe in a family where allergies are prominent, that carpeting is not a good idea. If somebody in the family has an autoimmune disease, carpeting is not a good idea. Because carpeting, if it's not cleaned properly and after years of use, will hold on to contaminants. And when you walk across the floor, those contaminants are being expressed or coming out into the air. So that's what all these slides go over. So if you're going to keep a home clean or free of contaminants, most important thing is good housekeeping practices. I'm not a great housekeeper, so we hire somebody to come in every 2 weeks and do it all. And then we have haste because prevent moisture is not healthy in an environment. Your humidity should never be above 60%. 60% and above is the ideal environment for mold to grow. And it is the ideal environment to attract pests.
Can you say that one more time?
60% and above.
You want your humidity to be?
You want
Under 60%.
Yeah, best humidity is 35 to 45%. If you go too low, your skin's gonna dry and flake, your nose, you get nosebleed, your lips gonna crack. Our bodies needs moisture. Once you start getting 50%, you need warning signs need to be going off. And that might happen on a rainy day, but it should immediately dry once the rain stops. So 60%, very dangerous.
My daughter, she lived in Colorado the past years, and she had a friend that they had a wet system, their HVAC system, and it produced a lot of moisture. And she said there was mold growing everywhere in that house, and the carpet,
So
everything.
the new HVAC systems, actually you have humidity controls in them, but again, you have to respect them and use them the right way. And it's setting them I like to have total control, so I don't have that in my HVAC system. I think the house will come in, but so it's controlling it. So at Walmart and on Amazon, you can get a humidity monitor for they used to be $9, so probably more now, but for $9, I recommend sitting those in all your wet rooms. Anybody tell me what a wet room is? Bathroom, kitchen, laundry room, and basement. Anywhere where you have running water, set those and watch them. They're your warning signs that, hey, something's not right in this house. And then gaining control of it quick right away. Minimize pest problems, good ventilation. So having our HVAC systems balanced and working properly, that tends to go out of whack when we do renovations. A lot of times we do renovations and we forget to have our HVAC system checked. And if it's not balanced right, you're going to get humidity in rooms. Disturbing old paint, not being careful with renovations. Let your home tell you if your health is at risk. If you're getting headaches, if you're having respiratory problems, if you have sinus problems and you didn't used to, there might be something. If you're getting fatigued in the afternoon, it's not because I'm boring, and maybe there's something wrong with the room, So checking those things out. And then looking at regular healthy building strategies like preventive maintenance saves people thousands of dollars to go around and do a checkup. We go have physicals annually. Why wouldn't we do the same thing with our house? That's how you can check damage. You can catch damaged roofs before they start leaking. Basement problems, gutter problems, yard problems. So right back to why I did all this, I really highly recommend that you check out our Breathe Healthy initiative. It is at no cost. And you would get a book that goes over all these details in a lot more detail. It is not one of those books you're going to sit down on Sunday afternoon and say, I can't wait to read this, but it's a great resource to go to. Plus you get the healthy building checklist and then the monthly newsletters, which all of these materials you can share with your clients. You don't have to get my permission. It's automatic. You can share it with anybody in the community. So any questions for me?
I have a quick question, Jocelyne.
Yes.
Do you do remediation for like a house that has like smoke through it? Do you like cigarette smokers and also cat smell?
Yeah. So in those we do an investigation first, and odors are another process of elimination. So determining what's the cause of the odor, like a cat peed in this corner multiple times. So once we determine what the source of the problem is, then it's about the ozone, floor removal, wall removal, whatever needs to happen. Typically, it's a process of elimination. I did have a clipboard going around so that I could have everybody's email address. What I want to do is I'll shoot you an email, not today. I'm booked pretty heavy the rest of the week, but I'll send you an email inviting you to join the Breathe Healthy Initiative. So you can do it by the directions in this brochure, or you can do it through responding to that email, filling out that form, and then you're in.
Do we have the clipboard?
We have a question
Back
on
here.
Oh,
Zoom.
gotcha. Okay.
He said, what was mentioned to set? Did you,
For what?
Larry wants to know what something was mentioned to set.
To set the humidity,
Just
maybe?
maybe
Oh.
All right, the humidity should be between 35 and 40.
5 and 40.
Yeah.
minutes.
And if you, so everybody's bodies are different. I had a client who had us do a whole house investigation. And when we figured it out, he was having his humidity, he had itchy throat. It would get real itchy and he was coughing and the doctors couldn't find anything wrong with him. His humidity needed to be at 40%, 35% was too low for him. You know, personal susceptibility, our bodies are their own little universe, so. They're another question.
That was it.
Yes, ma'am.
Does your website have a list of the prices for the various inspections? I have a lot of clients ask, what's the approximate?
So I do have, if you send me an email, I do have what's called standard pricing. We don't put it on our website,
Okay.
but I do standard pricing list that I can send to you. And yeah, so it'll give you an idea. Again, it says standard estimated price. So if somebody wants us to go to Timbuktu, they might have to take the gas.
Right, especially now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you very much
Thank
for
you,
coming.
Susie.
Thank you. Definitely appreciated for sure.
I'll leave the rack card. What, we do more than the Breathe Healthy initiatives. I'll leave some of these and I'll leave business cards so that if you want my cell number is not posted anywhere except here. If you want to talk to me, you don't have my cell number, you have to do a request to the website.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. All right. So let's get this party started. I would like to know what the buzzword is for this particular time that we're experiencing as the market's beginning to shift, right? So we talk about a shift all the time. We're really over the next 12 months, in order to be thriving during the change in the market, we're going to be teaching and teaching and teaching and teaching and expect everybody to kind of to jump into those trainings and conversations more so to be able to survive the shift in addition to thriving during the shift. So we've got a little something to get started. Okay. It's just a little something. Talk amongst ourselves. All right, so Michelle's up.
All right, quick coaching tip of the day. Become a coffee house consultant. If you love spending time in coffee houses, set up your computer and put up a cute little sign that says free real estate advice.
Right?
It's brilliant. So we are going to do 2 scenarios.
Oh.
We're going to do 2 role play scenarios, 2 minutes each. So I need 2 volunteer agents and 2 volunteer prospects coming up to the table.
You won't be disappointed by.
You're gonna be picked, so you can volunteer.
I will
and be picked.
volunteer if necessary.
What's coming up? Come on, Ashley, give me one. Who else?
Who wants to be the prospect for Ashley?
Louis, get up here. Full company.
I've got your starter question, so.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna set the timer for 2 minutes, so it's just gonna kind of be quick.
You look at your prescription.
It's like it's Monday.
All right, there we go.
Aw, thanks, Mom.
All right, where's that? Where did he pull that out?
Wait, what am I again?
Is she the agent? You are the agent.
Okay.
And,
You know, I don't like that job.
all right, ready?
Go.
Go.
It's not a good time to sell my house.
Of course it is. It's always a good time to sell your house. Depends on the professional you pick.
What I do is,
You have to slay along. This is role play.
It's falling apart and I have a cistern and.
oh yeah, my basement's not working correctly. Water on the floor. What do I do?
What have you done to prevent that and what's causing it?
Not go down there.
Oh. Very rude.
Okay, let's start over. Ask her the question again, because you know, you've been hearing that now from all the media sources, now's not a very good time to buy.
Actually, it's not a good
Sell.
time to sell a house.
So, in essence, so a lot of people see, I can't role play if I
Yes,
know.
you can.
No, that's the harder part. So people are asking that right now because the interest rates have went up, and they're seeing that there's this.
Come down a little bit,
Well,
but they're still lower than.
well, but see, what people don't understand and what we need to remind them of is exactly what I remind my clients of. Louis, just sit there and look pretty. No, actually,
Let him read that.
But the good thing is that what the agents do need to know is that the one thing that you need to remind the clients right now about the market is that you have people that were rate rich. They're no longer rate rich. The rates are back to where they were before COVID hit. And that's what you need to remind them of. So every single time that they say these rates are high, these rates are high, these rates are high, you say, no, 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 they're back to normal. Our country, our stamina, our society is getting back to normal. So yes, we had people that were rate rich, and yes, the market is going back to the way that it was before. Like, we're getting our inspections back. We're getting our closing costs being in the contracts back. And to our buyers, that's a good thing. But we just need to remind them that the only time that they're getting like that step ahead is that, you know, when our world is in total chaos. So yes, it is still a good time to sell.
So yeah, that was a role play right there.
Perfect.
How would you talk to a client
Yeah.
and ask you that?
Yeah, you just
And
have
then-
to remind them that, like, hey, look, do you want our world to die so you can get a good rate, or do you want it to be growing and you deal with it? And then you also should remind them that like 20 years ago, those rates were anywhere from 12 to 20%.
Still historically low.
All right, good
Yeah,
job.
exactly. They are still historically low. Thanks, Dad. Next.
All right, that's, okay.
All right,
Gina,
next volunteer.
Gina, people.
Oh, you're done. You're done. You're done.
Ashley.
Ready to go? I do have you know, let's give props to my team. They're all here.
I'm impressed.
I even
Good job.
videoed it.
All right, two more people to role play. Somebody is telling their buyers and sellers things right now. Come on, Lenny, jump up there.
Yay! You're well fed, well rested, well everything.
And Karen, will you be
I know
the
nothing.
buyer? You be the person, yeah.
I know nothing.
My other tip would be, sometimes our advice starts with asking questions, right? Finding out more about a situation and why they're such a question you don't get to ask. You can make up one. That's the one that was just as now a good time that we switched it.
Oh, okay. So Lenny, I'm really worried right now, because if I buy a house right now, I think I'm overpaying for it.
Well, that's why you have me to help you. Because we're gonna be able to pull the comparable properties in the area to make sure that you're not overpaying.
Yeah, but you know, these houses, they just escalated up. The prices went so high.
So many of them went really high because of a lot of cash that was being pulled out of people's 401ks. They're eventually gonna pay to buy these properties. What we need to do is figure out exactly what it is that you want in a home. Where you want to be and where you want to be by price.
Okay, that makes sense. Do you think the prices are going to be coming down in the near future?
Prices are gonna start to come down a little bit over the next 24 months, but what you're gonna find is because inventory is gonna remain extremely low and tight. What you're gonna find is prices are not gonna drop the way that they did before.
Okay, so this is not a bubble then?
It's not a, well, it's not a bubble per se. But what is happening is we're shifting down, and with that shift down, there's gonna be some people that got caught up in their forbearances. And you're gonna see some foreclosures come on the market
Really?
in the
Think so?
future. Oh, yeah. We're already starting to see some of them come up. We're not gonna see nowhere near the number that we saw before.
Right.
And it's because of the lack of inventory. Builders right now, building houses, they're 1.5 million homes behind nationwide.
Scarcity is still there.
Yes. So
I'm just
prices are
concerned,
gonna come down, things are gonna stabilize.
I'm just
and-
concerned about affordability, like.
Well, right now, your choice is if you want to buy a property, you're gonna lock in an interest rate. Your mortgage is gonna pay for it, or you can rent a property and your rent's gonna be much higher than what your mortgage is gonna be.
That's true. That's a good point, actually. Yeah. Very good.
The rent is very high.
All right, and excuse, I forgot to change my sheet. I'm ready on the clock.
You guys have me some flowers?
So Tina Llewellyn has a beautiful flower bed. Flower beds. And it's called Serendipity Seeds and Sunshine. So thank you for participating. Karen. Thank you so much. Glad you can take some flowers today.
They're awesome.
So thank you guys, definitely, thank you for participating. And sometimes we get caught up in, oh my gosh, I don't know how, I don't know how, I don't know how. And really, it is just simple conversations. That's all we need to be doing right now. You cannot go one place in anywhere that you're having a conversation with people that they know you're in real estate and they say, how's the market? Well, we need to know how the market is ultimately because we are the local experts of choice. And by practicing, I mean, it's kind of quirky, kind of fun, we did, but ultimately it gets the dialogue going and helps you remember and create what your answer and what your response is going to be. So welcome to our August team meeting. Where's Roger here? Oh, yeah, here.
Oh, what's happening?
I tried to show you.
I didn't realize I had one of these on here.
Now I get to that.
Now, game over. Okay, who wants to read our mission statement? Why do we do what we do? What's our mission?
To build careers worth having, businesses worth owning, lives worth living, experiences worth giving, and legacies worth leaving.
Amen, absolutely. All right. What's our vision?
To be the real estate company and brokerage of choice for agents and their customers.
Absolutely, love it. Okay, what's our values?
God, family, business.
Absolutely. All right, it's gonna do our belief system. What do we believe?
Integrity, do the right thing, customers always come first, commitment in all things, communication, seek first to understand, creativity, ideas above results, teamwork, together, everyone achieves more, trust starts with honesty, equity, opportunities for all, and success results through peace.
Absolutely. This is who we are and what we do every single day. Thanks, Karen. All right, what's our perspective? Put all this together, what's the perspective? Don't talk at once. I don't want to pop the ball on you, but I will.
A technology company that provides the real estate platform that our agents, buyers, and sellers prefer. Keller Williams thinks like a top producer, acts like a trainer consultant, and focuses all its activities on service, productivity, and profitability.
Yes, definitely. Thanks, guys. Okay, mission moment. So we just went through our mission, vision, value, belief, and perspective. So inside of all of that, what have you experienced in the last 30 days since our last team meeting for a mission moment? Did you see somebody that definitely practiced the win-win or no deal? And you got to witness that in true form. Did you come across someone that communication, seek first to understand? They actually had to go have the conversation in order to figure out Sometimes that's a little difficult. The whole, there's always two sides to the story, and we want to hear the one side, and then we forget about the other, and then we've already formed our opinion. So give me some ideas, give me some mission moments that you've experienced in the last 30 days. Teamwork, everybody achieves more. Tina,
Teamwork. Shelley had a client that needed some help out west in Frostburg, Cumberland, Allegheny County, and she sent me the referral, and it's really hard.
oh, awesome,
Yeah.
good job, that's cool.
We communicated together and we
Yeah.
communicated with the client, we communicated with their lender, it worked perfect.
Excellent, good job, guys.
Speaking of Tina, teamwork, and I have a buyer under contract in Garrett County, was not familiar with any of the resources there, so bless her heart, at 9:30 at night, and she's helping me with forms and resources, and I really appreciate that.
That's amazing. Good, cool. Anybody else?
We have a teamwork.
Yes.
So Kristen put together a Jeopardy at our office for learning and development for the agents that are trying to learn, pass, and achieve their licenses and everything like that. And I have to say, you go by the Green Council office, her board is in the spare office room, and
In the
it
spare
is.
bedroom.
Well, that's my daughter. So interestingly
Yeah.
enough, that office is my daughter's swim coach's grandparents' old house. So,
Oh.
she told me what they had. So it's like in there, but
Gotcha.
she did amazing. I was looking at
That's
that,
cool.
so you can see pictures of it on our team page. She did absolutely phenomenal with that.
Good job. So we're gonna bring that here one day.
Oh, yeah. She was looking really good.
I already
with
told
that.
her earlier, yep, next team meeting, get ready for Jeopardy.
Yeah.
I love it. All right, so let's talk about August birthdays. Todd Anderson, Ron Humble, Winnie, Karen, happy birthday.
Belated.
Maritza, Steve, and Tina Llewellyn's is coming up. So happy birthday to
And
our team.
Priscilla.
Priscilla!
Oh,
Oh, no! What-
It's
what-
totally my fault.
It's 12. Well, we have to
They
say
owe you a
happy
really big present.
birthday. Happy birthday, Priscilla. Work anniversaries, Karen Horsch, 12 years. Good job. Stacy, Mary, TJ's been with us a year, Mo's been with us a year, and Jen a year. So congratulations. Whoa. All right, bucket fills. We kind of hit that a little bit, but anybody else have? Oh, hugs and kisses. This is like the fun part. I can start. I'll take Chuck.
I wouldn't throw it at you then.
Watch out, Rich.
So I've been in real estate for a long time, and Lenny is very strict, but that's a benefit. He's very, very good at what he does. And I had a situation recently where I had to lean into him and had some great questions, and his direction is amazing, and you need to be thankful you have a broker that is as demanding as he is.
You have to get the whole cup.
I just said that the other day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
We already know the other ones suck because we go against them every day, right?
I said that the other day, they all need a money.
Yeah. And how, it's just like your kids. Do they like to be disciplined? Do they like running inside the lanes? No. Do they need it? Yes. And that's the rest of us too. You know, you hear people complain, oh, why do I have to do this? Why do I have to do that? Why do I have to do this? That's why, like, we like that. So thanks, Lenny. All right, more. Who else has hugs and kisses?
Can I get this someone for yesterday to go?
Yeah.
One above.
You can start with Shelley because she's always covers me.
Awesome.
Never-
Another Shelley.
We just need to get you a bag.
And Ashley for always being there for all of us.
Awesome.
We're all new and we always have questions constantly. So she's got a ton of people. She's always got to, be answering that from, questions, hope, whatever.
Awesome.
Well, you can get ready to throw one out. We have Gail that is taking new steps out of her comfort zone, learning new things. To help grow into a different part of the market. Rocio is dealing with some nasty sellers right now, so I have to say that she's doing phenomenal. That's what brings it down. Kristen's helping our team advance, grow, and learn.
I already got one.
Oh, that's okay. Doug is not even licensed yet, and she backs our team every single day doing anything that we need her to. Jen is the one that keeps us all together, files our documents, make sure that we are, kind of above and beyond. These two are a dynamic duo that keep each other in check. And I have to say that watching them work with one another has been phenomenal. Into our ninja. Our ninja is plugging away one aspect at a time to get us those contracts. Awesome. That is my appreciation for every single one of them. They've been doing phenomenal.
Awesome.
Phenomenal.
All right, good deal.
Can
Who
you-
else?
Can you throw into Michelle? Her PC program is almost a year old and she's just been doing amazing.
Yeah. All right, more, I have a few more. You about to go?
Yours from me.
Oh,
Because I know you see me all the time.
Oh.
Definitely to Kate.
Thank you.
She came out and did her little business with my clients. That was
Oh,
great. Thank you.
awesome. Good deal. Gina, did you say someone else?
Oh, I was saying Kate.
Kate, okay. she gets-
I'll take all the chocolate.
All right. We have three more, they're all free.
Oh, thanks.
Awesome, all right.
Oh,
Yeah.
thanks for being such an awesome leader.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, Dorothy. 100% commission. Melanie. Congratulations. Top producer for the month of August, Randy French Barrett, 969,000.
We had two this month.
And
There we
Dorothy.
go.
948,000 with 4 units. Good job. Oops. All right, our top producing team, the Melanie DeMaio team with Nate, $940,777 and 4 units. Congratulations. And our top producing group with 13 units, $4.2 million in volume, the Llewellyn Group. Congratulations. Job. I'm like, wait a minute, I think I know some area. All right, let's talk about numbers. So this is our market center numbers for the month of July. Month closed units month over month, we were down 2% from 2% from last year to this year. And then year to date, we're down 3% in closed units. Closed volume, what do you see there? Closed volume, month over month, we're up 11.3 and up 20.8% year to date.
Can I add a small thing in there? July was our biggest July ever for KWPR this last July.
Woo! Good job, guys. That's awesome. So with closed units being down and closed volume being up, tell me what that means. Tell me what's happening inside the market for those two numbers to be these.
Pricing is up.
Pricing is up, exactly. So sales prices, do you think there's going to be a trend that we're going to see this number not be quite as high, maybe trending down a little bit? Because why? What are we seeing in the market?
It's shifting.
It's shifting. And what does that mean? How many price changes are you seeing? How many properties are staying on the market instead of 15 minutes, they're 7 days or 2 weeks or whatever, okay? Listings taken month over month, last July to this July, we're down almost 40% and year to date, we're down 10%. What's happening there? Are sellers more hesitant, still hesitant to put their houses on the market? Okay, listings taken volume, month over month, we're down 43, almost 44%. Year to date, the volume number is up 14.2%. I like this little pointer thing. I just said. Oh, yeah. Like, I remember when I was little, I always wanted to be a teacher so I could write on the chalkboard, but now I'm a pointer. Yeah. So listings sold were even from this year to last year, or year to date. Listings sold down almost 35%. Our volume, again, that's the trend. Month over month, last July to this July, we're up almost half 50%. Year to date, we're still up But again, it's all the volume numbers.
So we could be selling higher priced homes too.
That is
Yep.
happening.
Yep.
That is happening as well. Contracts written. Contracts written, Chris, I always ask you this question. What's contracts written as far as an indicator?
Contracts written is a
Leading indicator. So it tells us what's coming in the future based on what we've done. So year or July over July, we're down 16%. Year to date, we're down almost 5.5%. So contracts written. What's happening with our buyers as we talk in the market right now?
They're getting scared off.
Has
on
it-
interest
A lot of
rates.
them are getting fatigued and not qualifying for the housing. They're once qualified, for it, so they figure, what's the point?
Right. And so properties are sitting on the market a little bit longer. Do you think contracts written with regard to buyers will be helpful to be the expert of choice in the area? To be able to say, everything's normalizing. Like, we just came off of a market that was insane, but now we're back to normal. We're getting back to normal. Interest rates again are historically, they're really good interest rates. Just because you can't afford 500,000, you can afford 400,000, or you can't afford 350, now we're at 300. It's still affordable, and you've got the ability to refinance later at some point in time.
And they also have the chance now with, the changes where there are inspections being asked for, and you do have the opportunity to ask for repairs, so.
Right.
Seller subsidies, you're seeing more.
Oh,
sellers
yeah,
now.
Yes.
But for a lot of folks who were having to settle for a house as is, now you at least have the opportunity to ask and see if you can get some of those things.
Yes, they're not having to use escalation clause.
Yes, exactly.
And the sellers are considering other kinds of financing besides cash.
Yes, and conventional.
Yeah.
Hey, the other thing too is, keep in mind, I think we had a conversation about this Monday or last week. That in the event that a seller, or I'm sorry, that a buyer has enough cash to go to closing. Instead of asking for the seller subsidy, why don't we ask the sellers to buy down the rate?
Yeah.
So then it puts them in a position where we're at 2020 rates or 2021 rates, and then ultimately. That's a win for everyone. Maybe it's less than what they would have asked for a subsidy.
Well, it's usually typically less for buying the point down than it is for seller's assistance. So it's gonna save the seller money by paying the points down, rather than giving that assistance toward their closing costs.
Right, and then the buyer wins because they get a lower interest rate, and now they don't think they're out of the market.
So those that said, well, it's not worth me moving forward because I can't afford that much anymore, guess what? Yes, you might be able to. This is what we're gonna need to do.
Right.
I don't know about other people, but I like that. I feel like our double deals are back, where the sellers are allowing home to sell continuing.
Yes.
So right about
Yep.
now,
Yep.
I mean, I probably have like 4 of those going. So it's like, hey,
Right.
bring that back.
In that conversation at the coffee house, when the seller says, do you think I have to sell my house first? Well, that's okay, because we've got sellers and buyers or other sellers that are willing to consider house sale contingencies. Again, all of this dialogue that we need to be doing with one another in positioning ourselves as the experts in the market. I love this kind of mastermind.
And might we also add that all the people that joined during COVID that thought that this was an easy job, they're now gone. Okay.
Right. It's officially a skill-based market now. You need to be skilled now.
We're back.
Yeah. So closed GCI, closed gross commission income, month over month, we're up. Our agents are making 11.3% more than they did last July. And year to date, they're making almost 23% more than we did last year. All things to keep in mind. Regional numbers, you can see the trend. Typically, it's gonna make its way west. So our closed volume, you're noticing ours were still in the positive, but inside the region, closed volume is down. This is listings taken volume is down, sold volume is down, gross commission income is down.
Can I say something about that? Because our region is more south of us, Washington DC and Northern Virginia and places like that, they have shifted sooner than we did. So that's why those numbers are so significant, because we're just starting to see the shift up here, but they've been dealing with it more than we have.
Much
So
sooner.
that's why.
Well, they're typically always before we are, no matter what.
Yes,
Right.
which makes us look smart when we say we can look to the south.
Yeah, exactly. Take advantage of it. So if we look at Allegheny County, our average, oh, wait a minute, let's see, let's do.
31 days.
Average, yeah, 31 days on the market.
Current days on market 32.
That's changing. Average sold price 151.3. And current month's worth of inventory is 211. So they, in Allegheny County, we've got 2.5 months worth of inventory. Which means if no other listing goes on the market after today, we only have 2.5 months worth until we have 0 on the market.
What is a normal, I guess, okay inventory?
So everybody tells us that 6 months worth of inventory means the market is balanced. So anything less than that, it's going to be a little bit scarce. Anything more than that, then it's going to be a buyer's market. Berkeley County, so the average days on market 16, current days on market 17. Average sale price 308,260 and 545 properties on the market. Inventory is at 2.4 months in Berkeley. Franklin County, days on market 19 and 20. Average sold price 272 with 185 properties on the market. 1.6 months worth of inventory. That's really low.
But the nice thing is you can see that it has increased since last year and it's increased since last month.
Yeah. So sellers are considering putting up those properties in the market. Garrett County, average days on market or days on market 36, current days on market 39, average sold price 675,000, 212 properties on the market and sitting at about 4.7 months worth of inventory. So in that resort area, in that resort market, they're getting closer and closer to being a balanced market. So while we expect things to come from the city and move west, it's different in the luxury in that market in Garrett County. Washington County, 25 days on the market, current days 26 or that 28. Average sold price $330,000, 323 properties on the market right now at about 1.8 months worth of inventory. So that's considerable, but like Lenny said, you can tell it is increasing, right? Do you think it would be helpful for us to know these numbers when we're out talking with buyers and sellers, or we happen to be sitting in the coffee shop and having conversations with people, right? It's all about conversations. Be the local economist of choice.
I would like to ask a question
Sure.
of this gentleman. Because he just bought a house.
Okay.
Did you know these numbers when you were buying the house and selling your house? Would these numbers have helped you if you would have been able to see numbers like this?
Yeah, definitely.
And what would they have done differently if you knew those numbers? What would you have done differently?
I probably wouldn't have rushed as much as I did.
Okay,
Who has access to these numbers?
we do.
How?
Do we know how?
You're right.
Through Lord, through Bright. You guys have all of these reports through your Bright. You go into your Bright and then it's like a report section and there's all kinds of stuff in there.
So you can get in, become a student
Yeah.
of, right, become a student of the company. So anybody ever read this book? Right, this is what we run on basically. So on September the 20th, I would love for you to mark your calendars and let's call it a day and make our way to the Frederick Market Center. Because we will be having the one thing workshop. Do you remember who's doing this?
It's a woman. I don't. Kristen, maybe. I don't know.
Oh, shoot. Anyway, the region is organizing this and there will be different opportunities for us from the regional perspective of moving trainings all around the region, not just in Upper Marlboro, which is 2 hours from us.
And
Now,
it's
if we go to Ocean City, I could see we drive 4 hours for that
it is a free event. So
Yeah.
jump in, get your tickets as soon as possible.
one.
Trisha Bowers.
Perfect. So the one thing, mindset reset, clarity gives us direction. Do you think we need clarity going into a shifting market? Yes. Who here, raise your hands, who survived and was part of the shift the last time in 2006-7? All right, awesome. Okay, so being in the business, do you think there's knowledge and wisdom inside of our four walls when it comes to regards to the shift? Absolutely. So we're gonna capitalize on that in addition to our. Okay, so speaking of shift, James Shaw, does anybody know who James Shaw is? Right? Does anybody? He is a bowl coach. And he does a daily power up pivot workshop on Facebook Live every single day at 8 a.m. So the region has brought James in to do a workshop. It's going to be at Ellicott City, which for us is a super easy drive. It's about 50 minutes to Ellicott City from here. We figured we're going to explore maybe getting a little bus that we can all go together. So we'll just make a big day of it. At least we'll be carpooling. So mark your calendars now for 9 to 3 on October the 13th. And he's good. He's excellent. This is what we're going to be working through for the next 12 to 24 months, the shift workshop. We do not have to reinvent the wheel. This was written during the last shift when the market crashed. Now we have the experience of knowing what happened and how we maneuvered it. And we have the workbook and we've got the Bible to be able to figure out. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. It's not rocket science and it's not difficult. It's skill based. And in order to get the skills, we've got to be in conversations together. So I am super excited to bring you Rich Millette, who is our brand new team leader. His position is Director of Growth and Business Development. And so Rich joins us as an athlete. He played Division I lacrosse. He was a military police officer in the United States Army, served 5 deployments in the Middle East. He is a Purple Heart recipient. He developed and implemented a foreign affairs training program for the Department of State. He earned a Bachelor of Science degree in Business Org and Management, and has not only made an impact in his work, but has truly gained respect for his abilities and results. He's a soon-to-be father of 4. His little son's due any day now. Lives with his wife and children in Martinsburg, and he loves sports, cars, and motorcycles. So if you would help me give him our current KWPR welcome. Be prepared to have some conversations. He's going to be reaching out. He wants to get to know each of you individually. So be prepared to get on his calendar and he'll meet you or you come here or whatever. Anything you'd like to say for your first 3 days?
No, I look forward to getting to know you guys. Really, I just want to be able to be a resource for you guys, help you figure out ways to kind of grow your business, make you more money, make your work-life balance better.
Awesome. Cool. Well, we're glad you're here. All right, Lenny, Broker's Corner. Remember, we gave him a lot of hugs and kisses, so just remember that as he's bringing us our full information.
Yeah, I want to take those kisses back.
Right?
Yeah.
Would you like
Okay.
to use this? Oh.
Right now, we're doing some things that are gonna help you guys out a little bit better. You're also not gonna be happy. We're gonna do it.
Oh,
Patty, not paying attention.
Lenny already ate all the kisses.
Anything that doesn't make you happy makes you happy. No kidding aside. So we're redoing the checklist. We're gonna be redoing all the checklists for each state, each type of transaction. We're slowly going through the West Virginia listing has already been completed. By the end of today, the Maryland purchase will be completed. Those are the 2 that will be completed at this point. For those of you that are trying to delve into commercial, there is no commercial checklist yet. We don't know how long that's going to take. That's going to take a while because we're not commercial agents. Okay. That doesn't mean we can't sell commercial property. We're just not commercial agents. So we don't have access to the forms and things that we need to do commercial. Pennsylvania, if you're licensed in Pennsylvania, they do have the forms for you for commercial. For those of you that are licensed in West Virginia, Eastern Panhandle is probably the best resource for the forms. If you're not a member of Eastern Panhandle and you want access to their forms and you're licensed in West Virginia, you can do so, but they're going to charge you $100 a year. There are new documents in West Virginia, there's new documents in Maryland, there's new documents in Pennsylvania. Documents have been reworded. There's also a new consumer's guide to the agreement of sale for Pennsylvania for the year 2022 because of the change.
How do you get that guy?
This guide is in the PAR documents. So and it's really important. One of the things that I'm finding is we still have people that are pulling documents from .loop. .loop is no longer supported. We don't put new documents in there. We don't add our own documents in there. Whatever's in there is already in there. If you're using .loop, I cannot guarantee you that you are using the most up-to-date document.
What about the car interactive and the
The
mark?
interactive, even still, the interactive documents, because it's not supported, I can guarantee that those are in there. You will find that the interactive documents typically will be in there. So I've verified it with Crystal before. They're using.
And that consumer pamphlet is in there.
So if it is the interactive documents, they're updated. If it's any other document in .loop, it's not updated. You're using the wrong one. Still seeing a lot of the wrong right to farm form for Washington County.
There's a lot of agents from other brokerages that are using the wrong one.
I know.
That's what I mean when I say everybody needs money.
There's a lot of agents that are still using the wrong form. So briefly,
Now, do they finally have the right one in our DocuSign? Because
Right
for a
one?
while there,
We
yeah,
do.
it wasn't even showing up.
you know,
It's
we
in the
get-
KW library.
Oh,
We had
okay.
to update it.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Yeah.
because I had to have, you sent it to me.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't even in there.
It's not in the MAR, but it's in the KW.
library.
Yep.
Because that's a county disclosure. County disclosures are never going to be in MAR. Maryland Association of Realtors. They're always going to be county. Okay. So.
Lenny, it's Sonia.
Yeah.
I have a question for you.
Hold that
Yesterday we
thought.
were in a class and there was a sinkhole addendum
Thought.
and they made it sound like
Hold
it was
that
in the right
thought.
to farm.
Hold that
tight.
thought.
Okay, got you.
So. Maryland's changed it. I got a trivia question for everybody. What's the newest Maryland addendum that's been added to the paperwork?
Sinkhole?
No, that's the county disclosure.
These items.
No. So the newest document that Maryland has created.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Solar.
Oh, solar.
So
It's flowers.
in Maryland, if you're selling a property in Maryland and it has solar panels, there is a new addendum that must accompany the contract of sale and the listing agreement. It's called the solar panel addendum to the exclusive right to sell and the solar panel addendum to the residential contract of sale. So you have to mention now in Maryland that solar panels are on the property on the separate addendum, on the inclusions and exclusions and leased items, leased items document, and in the contract.
And then the contract.
And in the contract.
Four.
Wait, so what are the four?
Inclusions, exclusions, lease,
Yeah.
the solar addendum, and then the contract.
And that's all in case they didn't see them when they drove up to the house.
Hey, I've done that. I didn't see it until I went to the back of the house and was like, oh.
So the form, they said that the form needed to be created to facilitate the sale of a property with solar panels. Because a lot of times solar panels are leased. They are not regulated by the public utility. So each year they have a rate increase on the electricity that's being produced. And eventually, it's usually somewhere between 7 and 8 years of the lease. Person will be paying more per kilowatt hour than what they would have had they just stayed on regular electric.
Every deal that I've had with leased solar panels, we have had them removed.
Really?
And it costs to get them removed, if they're leased, it costs anywhere between $50,000 to $75,000.
Really?
We didn't have, so essentially in 2 of the contracts that we had, there was actually a clause in there, they were Tesla, and Tesla can be a,
Yep,
you can pick that word, and to work with, they are not nice.
no, they're not.
And they have changed their agreement because they pretty much have changed their agreement in the aspect that in the old agreement, it allowed that if the property were to transfer, there was a period where they could null and void if the new owner did not want them. Now, they have a section written into their contract that says, I don't care if the new owner wants them or not. The people that currently own them can remove them from the property and stick them on either their home or a family member's home, but they must stay in use.
Wow.
So yeah, they are not friendly. And so for the first 2 contracts, we didn't have to pay to remove them because we had a period of non-transferability. But in the new one, there was. Now, mind you, the last one that we did where there was a payment to remove those panels, they were supposed to do their due diligence within X amount of period. That was 5.5 years ago, and they're still on my buyer's roof, and they've been getting free power ever since. They have not come to remove them. So then they sent them a nasty gram saying, well, we want to come and get our property. And they called him back and said, okay, well, we're going to get our attorney because essentially you've been running our roof and you're past your due diligence period and you're not going to threaten us when we haven't stood in your way. So it's, they pay more in the rent, more in the insurance, more in everything than they would just paying their damn bill. Yep.
And,
So unless you own them, it's not a benefit.
and right now, to own them in Maryland, you can't do.
You can't own one.
There's no purchase power agreement available in Maryland. And so the only reason to own them is to have a purchase power agreement.
It's an indefinite lease.
Yeah.
Wow. It's not a lease to own.
In
at any point.
Pennsylvania, there's even a company that I'll give you the name of the company because we know the company where you can purchase them through, finance them, and you'll own, and you'll actually do a purchase power agreement with PP&L. And it's a really good purchase power agreement.
West Virginia has a similar agreement where you can actually finance to purchase them and then you own them. There's no lease.
Now, the revised forms for Maryland are the residential contract of sale. Page 1, paragraph 7. Anyone want to tell me what that says? So it's going to allow more flexibility with the time frame for the deposit. That's all it does. Okay.
It's what?
It allows more flexibility for the payment terms of the deposit. So instead of saying immediately, or the one that I always tell people to do, the next one, it'll actually say on the first paragraph that you're going to do it within X amount of time. Maryland law says you have to collect the deposit within 7 days of ratification. Our office says you have to have it within 24 hours of ratification. If the contract says that you'll have it within 72 hours of ratification, that's fine. We know that earnest money deposits in Maryland, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia, we do not hold that, we will not accept a check. You have to do it through earnest. If the person can't get earnest to work, then they're going to go through either the other brokerage or the escrow company. The escrow company, the title company, if it's in Maryland, you must have the escrow agreement filled out and signed, stating that they have received it. Page 3, paragraph 18, the list of possible contract, the contract addendum, the contract addendum was modified to include the solar panel. Page 5, paragraph 24, settlement costs. A new sentence was added to make the seller aware that the seller cannot attend settlement as scheduled. The title company may require the seller to pay additional costs incurred by the title company in connection with closing. Page 5, paragraph 24. This next one's my pet peeve. Paragraph 60 and 61 in Maryland. Says what?
Authorization to electronic delivery.
Yes. Paragraph 60. Paragraph 60 and 61 in the Maryland contract states that you can conduct this transaction electronically and accept facsimiles and email documents and signed electronically documents. You do not need a separate addendum that says you can do it electronically. It's in the contract. When we read the contract, there's amazing things that we find. And I'm always going to go back to that. Okay. The unapproved land contract of sale in Maryland changed as well. Those are going to be the same change. Okay. The property inspections addendum. This is a big one. Paragraph 4C of the property inspections addendum. It's the second paragraph in this provision was revised so it aligns more closely with paragraph 3 of the property inspection notice. In responding to a buyer's request to repair or correct unsatisfactory conditions, the seller may agree to repair or correct all, some, or none of the items noted by the buyer. The seller may offer a credit in addition to repairing or correcting such condition, or the seller may offer a credit in lieu of repairing or correcting such condition. Okay. On-site sewage disposal system inspection and test addendum, page 1. A notice paragraph. The addendum was revised pursuant to a legislative change effective July 1, 2022. On-site wastewater property transfer inspection license issued by the Maryland Department of the Environment will be required. A sentence was added to provide notice of that upcoming change. So we need to speak with our septic inspectors and make sure that they have an up-to-date license from the Maryland Department of the Environment. Speaking of contractor licenses in Maryland, there was once a form in the MAR forms, and I forget what it was called. What was it called, Shelley?
Notice or
Notice of
Contractor verification.
contractor license.
contractor
verification.
licensing
Hardly anybody
verification.
ever filled out.
Okay. Well, guess what? You're going to see in your checklists, if you have a listing or a contract, is going to be, what do we have that marked as?
Additional.
Conditionally required. And the reason it's conditionally required is because Maryland has brought that addendum back. And the reason they brought it back is now we're back to having to do our due diligence for the buyer. Because the buyer is not performing their due diligence, and we are referring contractors to people. So it's going to be your responsibility that if you refer a contractor to a buyer or seller, you will complete that addendum. And all the state needs to know when they talk to the buyer is, where did your contractor come from? My agent. If you don't have it, you're in trouble.
remember, we're always attempting to shift the liability to somebody else. Once you filled out that form that you verified
I'll get
it,
the
you
exact
slipped
name
that
for you.
liability.
Yes.
Is it more about the agent referral or is it more about the contractor being licensed?
More about the fact that we are sending people, contractors. And I guess one of the big things that happened in Prince George's County, people were referring unlicensed contractors to do work.
That form requires that you actually put their license number in it and the date of the
Expiration.
expiration.
Not just that, not just that.
Right,
It actually, the date that you refer them
right.
and their license number.
And the date you verified it.
Yep.
Yes, the date you verified.
So if you're gonna be referring contractors, make sure their licenses are up to date. If you work with a contractor now, you might wanna go and check out their licenses.
I actually done a generic one and keep it. And if that way you have it, their license number and.
Still gotta
Already filled
verify.
out.
Still gotta
No,
verify.
I agree.
Official forms.
Which date is on the bottom of the presidential contract of sale? It's being revised.
Should be 2021.
If I look at it, two places, zip forms and more interactive, it's saying 1021.
Yep.
That's correct. 1021, it's the correct forms. Okay.
For the 1022 for,
So these changes, are they in effect October 1 or are they in effect immediately?
no, they're in effect now.
Well, the only thing is, the ones that are coming up in zip forms, residential contract, and the more interactive is 1021.
They didn't put these changes out until just recently.
So they were
It might
voted
be a month
in
later.
October 21, but it didn't take effect until 2022.
So the 1021 is a valid.
It is correct.
It's a valid
Yes, it is the most
That's
recent.
my question. Thank you.
Yeah, that's why I said, yeah, October 21.
Okay.
Yeah. With the exception of the on-site storage, but well, that one's gonna be 22. I'm gonna say July 1, 2022. Yes, it should. Water yield test. Page 1, paragraph 2. A new subsection B was added, allowing the parties to agree to either a 1-hour test or a 3-hour test. That's for the water yield. Escrow agreement between the buyer, seller, and escrow agent, page 1, paragraph 2, the deposit defined. In paragraph 4, handling of the deposit. Pursuant to a legislative change, the definition of trust money was changed. Paragraph 2 was revised to be consistent with the legislative change. In addition, the legislative changed the word entrusted to the word delivered.
That's a big word. That's a big difference.
Yeah.
Talk about liability.
So, when the EMD is delivered, that's within that, whatever you put down in the contract. The exclusive right to sell residential brokerage agreement. You guys are gonna love this one. Page 3, paragraph 11, fair housing. The provision now addresses love letters.
Oh, good.
Oh, we knew that.
Oh, we did read that. I'm glad.
And what it states is that love letters may be in violation of fair housing. And as a listing agent, if somebody gives me one, I will not present it. And as a buyer's agent, if you give me one, I will not present to the seller.
We've had that. So now they just
Well, now
added it.
it's added it's added in.
Do they call it love letters?
Yeah, what are they? Yeah.
You're the only person I've ever heard call it that.
Hey, Lenny,
Yeah,
have you heard anything about hairstyles being an issue now in Maryland?
hairstyle, well, they addressed hairstyles, that is actually in the
Yeah.
contract of sale.
Oh,
Like in all the buyers.
Hairstyles is now protected class under fair housing.
all you mullet haters.
That is,
Yeah.
that's what
Mullets are coming back.
we can laugh all we want about.
But be serious.
But seriously, what happened was, and what it stems from, when you read the why they did the legislation and how it came from dreadlocks.
Oh, what?
It wasn't the crazy bright colors or no.
It wasn't the crazy bright colors or anything, dreadlocks, because that's part of their religious belief. And I don't know what or how they do what they do with them, but
80 million ways, don't even try to understand that.
I don't, I mean, but it has to do with their religion, and they were being discriminated against. So they said that we have to make this, so in Maryland, the hairstyle is a protected class,
Oh my goodness.
coming nationally.
What the
Yeah, is that gonna be on the test? So essentially,
Yeah.
we can't get crap that actually we need placed in a contract. We can get hair put in there. Well, shit, I'm glad I left my weave at home.
All right,
Sonia, did you have a question about sinkholes?
About what?
sinkholes.
Oh, well, where's that addendum at? It's not in the right to farm. I just looked at it.
Yes, it is in the right
It
part.
is in the right part.
It is called the notice of dewatering.
Yeah.
And for those of you in Allegheny and Garrett County who don't actually have a correct right to farm form
Yeah.
yet, because the law does state that every year they have to send a notice out in their tax record, same thing here. And at the change of the possession of property, you have to give notice of the right to farm. You also now have to give notice of dewatering zones. There are dewatering zones in Allegheny and Garrett County. The addendum will give you the website that you can go to find where these dewatering zones are. So make sure you're using the correct right to farm. And make sure that if a listing agent is using the wrong right to farm, maybe send it back to them and mention that this is not up to date. Because it needs to be up to date because of the dewatering zone. The only other thing that changed was the lease template. Paragraph 7, the renewal of the lease terms. The lease template was revised pursuant to legislative change effective October 1st. A party wishing to terminate a month-to-month tenancy is required to provide written notice of not less than 60 days.
What is it, 60?
60 days to the other party. That's for the tenant to give notice to the landlord. Month to month, 60-day notice. In addition, language was added to clarify the requirement that a landlord provide at least 90 days notice of tenant termination.
Yeah.
If you're gonna be doing anything in Frederick County as far as the lease goes, just so you're aware, they did enact the law in Frederick County for Frederick City is now going to have a rental licensing program for landlords.
So have to be licensed.
Yep.
That's probably good.
In Frederick,
Frederick. in
Oh.
Frederick.
in Frederick, not in Maryland.
Huh.
Altogether. just
Damn.
Frederick, yeah.
And is that for just, even if you only have one?
Mhm.
Is that just city limits or is that?
City
county?
limits. And of course, last month we went over the West Virginia changes and everybody understands the new consumer guideline or the new guidelines for measuring actual living space in a property, right? Based on appraisals,
In terms of the lower ceilings,
Yep.
stuff like that. Okay.
mainly affects basements and Cape Cods. it. That's really all I
They
got.
got more strict on that crawl space provision too, the whole 18 inches. So if there's a crawl space, they want to see 18 inches for any government loan. That's been coming up a lot.
Really?
Yes.
What do you do with older homes? that don't have-
It's so, we just had that, and here's the thing, they still put it in there that it does not meet HUD guidelines. However, let's face it,
However.
the house was in existence prior to the damn HUD guideline. So that's essential, but they still don't care. They still want a structural engineer to say that, to say the same thing we did, that it was constructed prior to the guideline being in place, and that the pipes do have to be able to be accessible for repair. As long as they can state that they are accessible for repair, then your repair or replacement, then you're fine.
And they're requiring a structural engineer. to go in.
Yes. Yeah, Jason Schindel is probably the best one that we use for the team, and he's very well feasibly priced, and he will get there expediently quick. And he will even call you and go over everything first. So he's very good with it. He's like, well, this doesn't make any sense. This wasn't in existence then. And I'm like, I'm aware.
So what do we have to do that we don't like? You said you're gonna do
That's
something.
when you see the checklist, there's gonna be, if the document says it's required. There's no exception. It's required.
So we can still use dot loop.
You can still use dot loop, but
And the
use dot
checklist will be in
loop.
there for dot loop?
No.
No,
No,
Command
No.
checklist. He's talking about
Command.
command.
the command,
the command checklist will be up to
The
date.
command
That loop
checklist.
is not up.
Okay.
all right, I should have clarified that, it's the command check.
Okay.
So if it says it's required, it means it's required. If it says it's conditionally required, I do verify whether or not I need that document. So I check.
Oh yeah, closed tab changes for the checklist on that. A lot of times I'll get a note that says no walkthrough was done, it was waived. That's great, but I need the walkthrough form slashed out with your buyer's signature on it. No more notes will be accepted for that. And then also referral agreements are gonna be required in the checklist under closed if there's a referral being paid out.
So you're gonna require now a walkthrough?
Yes, walkthrough on
Walkthroughs have
everything.
all walkthroughs, just so everybody understands. I know nobody does that.
I do.
Walkthroughs have always been required.
But now they'll be.
Yes, but now you will not get paid unless there's one in there signed by your buyer.
Okay, that's good to know. I did not know.
Especially in instances where it may be like the tenant is purchasing and there's not a walkthrough, or it may be vacant, whatever it may be. We still need the form in there with the signature on it.
Shelley,
That line.
one more thing.
Remember,
Well,
with the walkthrough,
No, no, check that.
right.
with the walkthrough, form, remember, we're always looking to shift the liability. So if you have a walkthrough form and it says, the buyers didn't do it, ultimately, they're not gonna come back on me because it wasn't done. It's in the file, they didn't do it, they signed off on it. Shift the liability off of yourself.
Two last things, real quick, make sure, I know I'm taking a lot of time here, but these are all important things. Complaints are still up at real estate commission level, and with people contacting attorneys. A new feature of COVID has just started peeking its ugly little head. We've gotten 2 calls so far where people's deeds have not been reported. And their property taxes were not paid. So if you had closings during COVID, and these came to be right around the same time frame, like February through April,
What
that
year?
these deeds were
2020.
2020, that these deeds were not recorded. And property taxes were not paid.
That's title.
Yeah,
That's title, but guess who they call?
Oh, yeah, I get calls.
Mhm.
Because they're gonna remember us.
Oh, I warn people of that all the time, that who
Well,
uses a
the
reflection
one
line.
reason we got the call is because they knew the agent was no longer in this office, and this office was the one that set up the settlement, because they did it in our office. So, You may, it's up to you, you may want to touch base with your clients that you sold a home to at the beginning of COVID. Just ask them if they've
Receive your deed.
received
Their
a
deed.
copy of their deed.
Okay.
Ask them if there's any issues with their property taxes. Are they seeing, have they received anything?
Yes, they're too high.
Or you can nip that right. You can nip that right in the butt right now and just have Jordan Company handle it all, and then you wouldn't have that problem. Right? Right.
You gotta remember, the buyer gets to choose who the settlement company
I
is.
know that.
That touch plan though, as far as reaching out to your clients who closed in 2020, that's a really easy smart plan.
Yep.
Jump in there, do a smart plan, assign it to everybody. It's a great touch for your monthly touch anyway. Just double check on that.
And I think that was it.
And I just wanted to add one thing, if you're wondering how you're gonna remember everything that we just said about what changed. Everything you just went over is in your Maryland Realtor magazine that comes.
This one?
This one was from October, November of 2021. We
Oh,
have so many of these magazines that come to the office, so I would like log in or call them and have it changed to your home address,
They won't.
or don't. So,
goes-
you can read it, commit and print it out.
It goes by your nerd number and where your license hangs. That's where they, because I've tried to get mine changed to my house.
I took some my
For those of you that get it at your house, guess what?
They just don't.
Actually,
I was just gonna say. I'm not gonna help you.
It's actually,
It's the whole wedding.
that is actually a check mark now on the board application.
Oh, it is.
The board will then go in and say where you want your mail delivered.
So,
Hey, this is Gloria. I get
I get mine here.
Yeah,
mine at home, but it's for Maryland and I only have a PA license that's still not fixed and I've tried several times.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so I have two things. One is, that was a great segue, thank you. You'll notice that we have one of our office spaces rented to A+ Settlements, and so Jordan Farrell will be in that office every now and then. So welcome, when we're gonna give you some flowers to put on your new desk.
if she can deal with me every day.
Really
she can deal with every day.
the most random ones. So feel free to drop in and make Jordan feel welcome to the team. And
can I say something on that?
Yeah.
So they will be conducting, guys, they will be conducting closings here in the conference room. So we are gonna get a conference room calendar that will be sent out to you guys. So be a little more,
a little more grace.
yes, don't just assume that it'll be available when you come in. All right, so schedule ahead of time, be really diligent. If your closing comes off and you no longer need the space, please let me know.
Okay. And then I believe Larry has and we can share this if you want to, but Larry has a new listing coming that's kind of once in a lifetime. Larry, do you want to tell us about that listing?
Yeah, first I'd like to thank Lenny for motivating me to build my food business so I can walk away. Other than that, we're meeting with some clients tomorrow. Once in a blue moon property. It has an older house. We're not sure that that's worth anything. It's got a barn. Going to find out how many acres the pond is. And it's 100 acres surrounded by state land. It's private as private can be. And in the interim of talking to these people, they've now connected us with somebody with a horse farm. I don't know if it's here or where, but snowball effect. So anyhow, I dare, we'll get you all the details once we meet with them that I can legally do. And I dare you to sell it before I do.
All right, good deal. Thanks, Larry.
Thank you very much.
All right.
County.
Where?
Garrett County, yep.
Western.
How much is it listed for?
Do you have a
It's not listed
ballpark?
yet.
You know what, about the price point you're gonna list it
Somewhere
at?
between 400,000 and 500,000.
Okay, gotcha. 100 acres. All right.
Awesome, thanks, Larry.
Okay.
You're welcome.
All right, does anybody have any other listing that you want to make sure the group gets to know about before we dismiss? All right, awesome. Thank you guys for your patience. Thanks for going a little bit over with us. We appreciate you. And we'll talk to you soon. Bye now.